Yes, Harden was playing on a bum hamstring. He couldn't even run a fast break. Kyrie went down. But look, the Bucks would have faltered under pressure in past years, and hello and welcome to the Monday, July 5th edition of the TV on Basketball podcast with your host, TV. Hope you're all having a fantastic day and thank you for clicking on to watch or listen to today's episode. Before we start, I do have to plug my other platforms. Remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for updates on the podcast and for other awesome content. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, share, and subscribe. That would be highly, highly appreciated. And for all my podcast listeners, remember to subscribe and leave a review if you're an Apple. And for Spotify, Anchor, or Podbean listeners, just continue to show your support in any way possible. I really do appreciate it. I have an awesome show lineup for you guys today. I'm going to be talking everything NBA Finals. Actually, not everything, because I'm going to be talking about the Bucks Game 6 win against the Hawks. So that's going to be thrown in here as well. But yeah, this is where I'm going to be making my prediction. This is where I'm going to be doing all my preview stuff. It's just going to be an awesome episode, and I'm just excited to talk about the NBA Finals, man. Just super, super stoked. And yeah, there's going to be some changes for the recording of some of these podcasts. I mean, I'm gonna, and what I mean by that is that for the Monday episodes, I'm gonna be recording on Sunday afternoon. So because I just got a new job, so I'm gonna have to work around that. So if there's a game on Sunday night that I do not talk about on Monday, you'll understand why. And in terms of the Friday episode, if there is a game that's happening on Wednesday night, I'm gonna be recording that on Thursday. But if there is I think a Tuesday game, I'm gonna be recording that on the Wednesday. If you get what I mean, so I could so I can post on the Thursday, so I could do a little preview. Hopefully, so it at least makes kind of sense when you're listening to it. So yeah, it's gonna be a slight change in schedule, but hopefully you guys understand. I'm gonna try to work around this, but I'm still gonna be trying to watch some NBA basketball. But yeah, with that out the way, let's get right into this because there is a lot, and I mean a lot, to talk about in this episode. And we're obviously going to start off with the final conference final series. The Bucks advanced to the NBA Finals by defeating the Atlanta Hawks 4-2, winning in Game 6, 118 to 107. Really, the story of this game was that the Hawks needed everything that they had, and that meant bringing Trae Young back from injury early. And you could tell when he was in that game, he just was not right. And the stats back it up. 14 points, 9 assists, 4 for 17 shooting. This was just not his night. He just wasn't explosive. He wasn't even really the primary ball handler at times. So you could tell that he was struggling coming back. But luckily for them, they stayed in this game because of awesome contributions from Cam Reddish, who had 21 points in this one, their leading scorer, including 6 threes. So he really kept him in that game. And then Bogdan Bogdanovic had another good game as well, 20 points, 7 for 12 shooting. But sadly, with the Trae Young struggles and just not enough contributions from the other guys, it was going to be really tough for them to defeat this Milwaukee Bucks team when you have Chris Middleton going off for 32 points in this game, including 23 in that third quarter. He was fantastic. And Jrue Holiday just having a steady game. He started off really hot, but then he just kind of, kept the ball rolling throughout the game. 27 points in this one, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. And then just great contributions from all over the place. 13 from Brook Lopez, 12 from Bobby Portis, 13 off the bench for Pat Connaughton. Even Jeff Teague, who played 12 minutes in this game, produced 11 points. I mean, they just got contributions from everyone. And another impressive victory for a Bucks team who did this without Giannis again. They did this without Giannis. I mean, there were reports before the game that if he doesn't play Game 6 and it does go to a Game 7, Giannis, there's a good chance that he might try to play. But luckily for him, he doesn't have to do that. And he gets a few days rest. And but the Bucks were able to get the win. And good for them. Very much good for them, especially without Giannis. I know Trae was hobbled. I know he was struggling, but he was still a threat, and the Bucks did a really good job trying to contain him. The fourth quarter was kind of iffy, especially because they had a big lead, but the Hawks went on a mini run to kind of, put a little scare into the Bucks, but the Bucks sounded it well, and they were able to get the win. So congratulations to them. But I do want to talk about the Atlanta Hawks because I want to give them all the credit in the world for this amazing season that they had. And I know Trae Young had a bad game, but there's not going to be any slander from me to him because he played his heart out throughout this entire series, and you could tell that he wanted to try to help the team as much as possible, but his foot just let him down, and his foot was not right. And that's just what happens. That's the game of basketball. Injuries happen, and unfortunately, Trae was just a victim of that. But besides that, making it to the conference finals, after their crazy start with Lloyd Pierce going 14 and 20, firing him, and then Nate McMillan takes over and completely turns his team around, not only closing out the regular season on a very, very high note, but this playoff run. And mostly because, this is the type of, if you look at the remaining teams in the playoffs, you can look at each of those teams like, okay, this team beat this injury-riddled opponent, this team beat this injury-riddled opponent. When you look at the Hawks, they really didn't have to go through that. They went against the Knicks, and sure, they were missing Mitchell Robinson, but they still had Julius Randle, they still had RJ Barrett, they still had their core group of guys, and they were able to get the win. Going up against the 76ers, the only main guy they were missing was Danny Green, and I know Embiid had his injury struggles, but they beat them, and no one expected them to take down that 76er team, but they did. And yeah, it's just a crazy season, crazy playoff run, and you have to give them all the props in the world for that. Yes, they were a bottom 10 defense, but they improved it throughout the season. They got Trae Young going. And what's weird about this, like, we talk about how great Trae Young is, how great his playoff run is, but he didn't even make an all-star team, which is crazy, but that was the narrative at the time. But you got to give all the credit in the world to this Atlanta Hawks team. They not only did good by their fans and kind of accelerated this rebuild, they are the blueprint for what other rebuilding teams should do. We've seen what the Timberwolves have done, and they've been stuck in the gutter for how many years. Same thing with the Kings. Another example of this. Same thing with the Hornets, like before they got LaMelo. They've just been stuck in this gutter and just didn't know how to rebuild their team the right way. Yes, there's a lot of luck that comes into it. I mean, the Hawks got John Collins. They got some good players, including Kevin Huerter. They also got DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish. They got lucky in the draft, which is good. But they were able to make the moves in the offseason, bringing in Bogdan Bogdanovic, Gallinari, making the trade for Clint Capella. And they built a roster to try and get these young guys because they have enough young guys. They just need them to get some playoff experience. And in this playoff run, they got that and more. So whatever they're doing this rebuild, congratulations to them. They played their heart out. They deserve all the praise in the world. And their young guy just took a step forward. I mean, Trae Young, we have to mention him in that upper echelon of point guards now. It's going to be like he's in the top 6, wherever you want to put him, 5, 6, maybe even 4. He's up there. Then with a healthy Cam Reddish next year, with a healthy DeAndre Hunter hopefully next year, the sky is the limit for this team. And as long as they develop together, they keep that core, they learn how to play with each other, I see nothing but good things for this team going forward. The only thing you have to really look out for is what's going to happen with John Collins now, because he is a restricted free agent. He declined a 4-year, $90 million deal, and now he's awaiting the next offer. And I think what he did really good in this playoffs is not really establish himself as an offensive force, but prove to the Hawks that he is a potential great two-way player, showing his effort on the defensive end, on the rebounding side, on the offensive end. He could do a bit of everything, and I think with his relationship with Trae at the moment, I think they want to keep him around. The details of the contract, I'm not sure, but I'd be very surprised to see the Hawks not retain John Collins in any way. So, good for him, good for this team, good for Trae. Lots to build off of this, and I just can't wait to see what they do next year. I mean, sadly it came to an end here, but this is better than anyone expected. Very, very proud of the Atlanta Hawks. But the thing is, they went up against this Milwaukee Bucks team who has had the experience, has been through what the Hawks have been through, the struggle times, trying to develop Giannis, trying to develop Chris Middleton, and now they're at that point. And you know, the Hawks maybe in a couple years to get to that point too, but this was a really really good run from them. Before we talk about the NBA Finals, I do have to give out my series awards for this series, and we're gonna start off with the MVP award. I would give it to Giannis, but he missed the final few games of the series. And so I decided to give it to Chris Middleton, 24 points a game, 8 rebounds, 6.5 assists. He had a couple of stinkers in there, but when the team needed him the most, especially in these last two games, he played excellent. He's the one, especially in um, game 6, 23 points in that third quarter. Massive, absolutely massive. If you look to the game 3 one for the Milwaukee Bucks, he had 20 points in the fourth quarter. Another massive game. I mean, they just got some good contributions from him. They knew who to go to late in games, and he provided. So, Chris Middleton, MVP of the series. I think that is really up, no debate there. Best bench player, I do want to shout out Cam Reddish, who came back midway through the series and was actually a factor. But he didn't really play the whole series, didn't put up the greatest stats. So I decided to give it to Danilo Gallinari, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Just solid. I mean, he does take a really long time to get his game going. But he provided some good offensive moments for them. So Danilo Gallinari, best bench player. Most disappointing, I got to give it to Kevin Huerter. 10 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Went on 26% from 3, 34% from the field. He just struggled the series, and you know, he had a couple of good games as a starter in the 76er series. Really couldn't get it going here in the Milwaukee Bucks series, and especially in that game 6. Oh man, he was struggling bad, and that's when they turned to Cam Reddish to kind of close out the game. So yeah, he kind of struggled in this one. I'm not gonna put too much blame on him, but yeah, he definitely did struggle. And I know I don't do the most disappointing and the Jerry West Award in the same series awards, but I'm gonna do it here. Again, shout out to Trae Young, 28 points, 6 assists in the 4 games he played in this playoffs. He just didn't look right in that final game. He just didn't. He tried his best. He tried to fight through it, but an injury is an injury, man, and a bone bruise is no joke. So yeah, Trae Young, 28 and 6. That's including that 48-point game in Game 1. He definitely showed out in that series. And then if I have to pick my favorite moment, the Trae Young shimmy, that was just absolutely fantastic. When he crossed over Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis was like, wait, do I step up? Do I not? And Trae did his little shimmy, shoulder shrug, whatever you want to call it, and he banged a 3. You know, he was a star in the series. He proved that he was a star throughout this playoffs. And man, I can't wait to see him back on the court next year, man, because he showed a lot to me, and I hope that he can continue to develop his game going forward. So yeah, those are my series awards. Let me know down below if you guys agree. If you disagree, let me know below. But yeah, let's talk about the NBA Finals. But before I make my prediction, I want to take a look back at the seasons of these two finalists. We're going to be talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. We're going to be talking about the Suns. And kind of talked about their road to the NBA Finals. I mean, you see these type of packages, these video type of packages in the WWE, like the road to WrestleMania and stuff like that. Well, I'm gonna kind of go through that for each of these teams. Not really a video package, but just kind of talking about the road that they got here. And we gotta start with the Milwaukee Bucks, man. Just to pick off from the series. I mean, they finished third in the East this year. They weren't as dominant in the regular season as they have been in years past. 46 and 26. And this all really started back in the offseason when Milwaukee was known as one of the deepest teams in basketball. But they knew that late into the season that depth doesn't really matter as much, and they really need to improve the top end of their team. And they did that by trading away Eric Bledsoe, who was a longtime starter for them, and along with other players into a trade, a bunch of first-round picks, and they brought in one of the best defensive guards in basketball, Drew Holiday. Because not only has Drew Holiday one of the best defensive guards in the game, he's shown that he's a playoff performer. And we could just point to that Portland Trailblazer series a couple years ago when the Pelicans swept them. So the Bucks bring in Drew Holiday. They expect a lot of change, maybe not in the regular season, but they did this trade, hoping for better playoff results. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know my gripes with Eric Bledsoe. I know that he is not a great playoff performer. So seeing him get traded for a more sturdy hand, a more reliable player in Drew Holiday was great. Because not only did they trade for him, they signed him to a 5-year maximum deal for him to stay with the Bucks. And with that trade, not only did they secure the signature of Drew Holiday, but they secured the signature of their top guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo, who was projected to be one of the top free agents of this upcoming offseason. He was off the board. He signed a supermax deal with the Bucks, and everything was looking good in Milwaukee. They had a direction going forward. They had their top guy. They were ready to make a championship run. And look, another MVP type season for Giannis. He another like 29, 12, and 6 type season, but wasn't in the MVP discussions because one, his record was a bit lower than usual, and voter fatigue. I mean, Giannis was still as dominant as ever, but voters want to vote for someone else. Let's be completely honest. And look, they like I said, they performed worse in the regular season, but the moves that they made in this off season, including this season, was meant for a deep playoff run. Because not only did they pick up Drew Holiday, they also brought in PJ Tucker to help shore up their front line. He made some key defensive plays throughout this playoff run and stuff like that. And man, he did a lot of good things because he was put on like some of the best players on the other teams. And although he kind of struggled on Durant, he still really did his best, and he gave that Bucks the edge that they were looking for. They got out of other players. They also brought in Brent Forbes. They brought in Bobby Portis. They really want to help out their top end of the team, and that showed a lot in this playoffs. Speaking of the playoffs, some people want to call it a Mickey Mouse run. We're not going to talk about that here because they went on a crazy run. First round, defeat the Wizards in 5. It was business as usual. Sorry, not the Wizards. They beat them. They swept the Miami Heat. They exercised those demons after that horrible thing that happened last year when they lost to 5 to Miami. They broke those demons, and you just knew from that point on that this is a different Bucks team. They had a different type of swagger to them, and beating the defending Eastern Conference champs the way they did in a dominant fashion was just a great way to start off the playoffs. And Giannis was great. Chris Middleton had that game winner. You knew the Bucks were want to go deep into the playoffs, and that was just a fantastic start. Then we move on to the second round. They start off very slow against the Brooklyn Nets, going down 0-2. But man, a lot of people do want to talk about the injuries, and I'm not gonna deny the fact that the Bucks did get a little lucky, especially in this series, because Kyrie Irving went down. Harden was not 100% in the series, so they had an advantage over the Brooklyn Nets. And in years past, they really couldn't handle that pressure. When they saw a star player like ahead of them, they really couldn't, adjust to the one-on-one matchup. They couldn't beat teams in this scenario. But they showed a lot of character. And in Game 7, they showed it the best because it was a down-to-the-wire game. It was one of the best games of the playoffs. Giannis played amazing in that game. They got some really good contributions late from Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. But what impressed me the most about that Game 7 victory was that when it was late in that game, they locked up KD. They did his best to really make it hard for him. And then they just made the right plays in overtime. The hook shot from Giannis, the post fadeaway from Chris Middleton. The Bucks teams of the past couldn't do that. And that's because they didn't have a Drew Holiday to help relieve handling duties from Giannis. They didn't have those type of players, and it's different this year. It was definitely different. And look, Drew hasn't had the most impressive playoff run, but you could just tell when he's on the court, it's just a completely different feel for this Bucks team, and it really showed in that game. So in that series, they took down the Brooklyn Nets. Yes, Harden was playing on a bum hamstring. He couldn't even run a fast break. Kyrie went down. But look, the Bucks would have faltered under pressure in past years, and if you remember my podcast episodes from beforehand, I was criticizing a lot of Mike Budenholzer here. But they were able to play through it. Giannis looked amazing. He played like a superstar, and they were able to take down the almighty Brooklyn Nets. Then, of course, this conference finals, they take on the Atlanta Hawks. I'm not going to go too long into this because I did talk about the series and stuff earlier. But the Hawks played them tight. The Hawks had a really, really good playoff run. Even when Giannis went down in Game 4, the Bucks responded very well in Games 5 and Game 6 without their star player. Yes, Trae Young wasn't there on the other side, but Chris Middleton stepped up when they needed him to. Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Connaughton, Drew Holiday. I can go on and on. Those guys just stepped up when they needed them to, and they closed out the series without their star player, which was something that you had doubts about in the past for this Milwaukee Bucks team, especially in the postseason. But they're a different team. They knew what goal they had in front of them, and they reached it. They made it to the NBA Finals. They did their thing. Their first finals appearance since 1974, when they lost to the Boston Celtics in the finals. But yeah, congratulations to them. They had one goal this entire season. They met that goal. Actually, no, they're only one step away from that goal now. They won a championship. Is it going to be hard with an injured Giannis? Yes, but they made it here, and I know the type of goal that they have in mind. Their eyes are on the prize. Can they pull it off? We're going to get into that later. And like I said, well deserved. I talked about it in my last episode about this Mickey Mouse ring talk. We're not talking about it here. They proved that they're ready for prime time, and they showed up. Congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks for making it this far. Now let's move on to the Phoenix Suns, man. And there's just a lot more to talk about this team, because this doesn't even start in the offseason for them. This started back in the NBA bubble. Yes, it feels like an eternity ago. But the last year, August, September, the Phoenix Suns were invited to the bubble. People were like, why are they even inviting the Phoenix Suns? Just why? But they showed out, 8-0 in the bubble, and they still missed the play-in tournament, which was heartbreaking because everyone fell in love with that team during the bubble. Everyone's like, justice for the Suns and all that. They should have made it, but they didn't. And you could tell by like the way that the Suns players from that year talked about the bubble. They're like, that is such a huge key for us in our confidence, and they just knew that they can just progress forward and even take that next step. And management saw that too, so that's why they pulled off the trade to get Chris Paul. And a lot of people, like when Chris Paul moved to that team, were like, well, Chris Paul's wasting another year. He's not going to make the finals. Everyone wanted to see him make the finals, but they didn't think they could do it, he could have done it with the Suns, including myself, who projected them to be in the 8th seed in the West, a bottom half playoff team. But they surpassed all expectations, becoming a top 10 defense, a top 10 offense, and they attained the number 2 seed with their coach, Monty Williams, coming as a runner-up for Coach of the Year. Booker, another great season, made another all-star team, although as a replacement. Chris Paul was even in discussions for MVP. Now I think people went a little bit too far with that, but you could tell that how much of an impact he has done. And people realized the Chris Paul impact was real, and that this team was for real. And after missing the playoffs for the last 11 years, they made it as the number 2 seed. But man, they had a hard task up ahead, because their first series in the playoffs, they had to go up against the Los Angeles Lakers. And look, again, I'm not going to talk too much about this Mickey Mouse stuff, but yes, the Suns did get lucky in some places, but for a team that didn't make it for the last 11 years, they deserve to be here. They showed a lot of maturity in this playoffs, and they did so even with their own problems. Because in the first round series, Chris Paul injured his shoulder in Game 1, and everyone just had that feeling like, oh man, this Suns team, I mean, it's just another type of CP3 season. He gets injured and his team gets eliminated early. It felt like it was going that direction. But Anthony Davis wasn't 100%. LeBron wasn't 100%. And like I said, the Suns showed maturity. They showed poise. And even with Chris Paul and his bum shoulders, they were able to pick up the series win, beating the defending champion Lakers in 6. Again, no Anthony Davis for a couple games. He also left Game 6 in the first quarter, so it was a rough time for the Lakers. But kudos to the Suns. They went up against the defending champs. They went up against LeBron James. I don't care if he's at 80%, 90%. He just wasn't, they were able to take him down. So kudos to the Suns for that, especially with CP3 and the type of problems he was facing with his shoulders. But somehow, some way, like I said, CP3 had this like healing potion, this magical healing potion, because he played like an absolute stud in the second round as the Suns swept the Denver Nuggets and the MVP Nikola Jokic. But again, another thing to note: no Jamal Murray in this one, but still facing him against the Finals MVP and seeing how well the Nuggets took down the Trailblazers. I thought it was going to be a tough series, but this Suns team completely proved me wrong. CP3 25-11 in the series. Chris Paul great. DeAndre Ayton, I didn't even talk about DeAndre Ayton yet. He held his own against the Lakers and Anthony Davis, and again did the same thing here with Nikola Jokic and actually gave him a lot of trouble in the series. DeAndre Ayton has been great all playoffs long, and these two series was just the start of what we have seen with DeAndre Ayton, because a lot of people thought he was going to take that huge jump offensively. We haven't seen that yet, but man, he improved on the defensive end. It's accepted his role, and he talked about, like I said in the past, he says that Chris Paul was the best thing to happen in his career, and man, he has improved a lot, especially in these playoffs. But yeah, no Jamal Murray for the Denver Nuggets, but the Suns just made sure to give the Nuggets a message that they didn't have a chance. They swept them. Chris Paul, big time performances here. Devin Booker campaign was pretty good, and man, this whole Suns team, you knew that they were for real. When they swept the Finals MVP, so good again. Second round series done, and then this Clippers series, no CP3 for the first two games because of COVID-19. He was diagnosed with the Delta V, sorry, with the Delta variant. And look, they still beat the Clippers. Again, no Kawhi Leonard, but they looked composed. And Monty Williams just coached up an excellent game plan to win game one and then win game two on that amazing DeAndre Ayton alley-oop, but that alley-oop in game two, man. They came to play. And look, the Clippers made it really hard for them. Pat Bev was getting underneath Devin Booker's skin. The Clippers were just making it really hard for them on the offensive end. Even when Chris Paul came back, he just didn't look right. And the Clippers looked like they could make the series and potentially go to the finals. Especially after turning it to 3-2. This Clippers team just fought hard all playoffs long, so you're like, maybe there's a chance. But again, when people start doubting the Suns and they know that they need to take care of business, they did it once again. Game 6, absolutely beating the heck out of this LA Clippers team, making sure that they knew that they didn't have a chance. And they put on an amazing performance, including Chris Paul's 41 points. It was just absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Devin Booker had a 40-point performance in this one. DeAndre Ayton was just a solid rock. I mean, I gave him my series MVP here. He was just great on both sides of the floor, on the glass, and just being that guy to when they need an inside bucket, they just threw up a lob to him, and he kind of saved him in those like really tough games, especially that 80-84 game. DeAndre Ayton was just massive. And they got contributions from Cam Payne, who had a 29-point game. Cam Johnson came in and averaged over 10 points. Lots and lots of guys, and man, they made it. They made it to the finals. First time since 1993 when the Suns went up against MJ's Bulls. They lost here. They haven't won an NBA championship in their franchise history yet, but they made it. And that means Chris Paul's first NBA finals. I'm extremely, extremely proud of this team. And just impressed by how mature this young team looks, and just the different guys that can come and contribute to this team. Very, very impressive. Good for the Phoenix Suns. They very much deserve to be in this position. But now, let's go into the matchup. We have the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Phoenix Suns. Let's get into it. Let's preview this series. And for the Bucks, let's start with them. Will Giannis play? If so, how healthy is going to be? Because the Bucks supporting cast stepped up against the Atlanta Hawks, again, with Trae Young's injury and all, but the Bucks played great. Their supporting cast played great. but now they're facing a rested Suns team. They are a healthy Suns team, and they and the thing about this Milwaukee Bucks team is that they have guys to defend the Suns. They have length. They have the guard defense. But we've seen in the past with guys such as Goran Dragic, with guys such as Kyle Lowry, that these type of like shifty small guards absolutely kill the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Suns have one of the best shifty guards in the league in Chris Paul. So, although the Bucks have the length, although they have, a lot of talent, even besides Giannis, with Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and the many others, can they keep up with the Phoenix Suns in the offensive end, and can they slow down their fast attack? Because they have a lot of fast guys. They can score from the inside and the out. Can they handle them? Can they? And another thing to look out for the Milwaukee Bucks is the Suns have shown that they are a very good clutch team in the clutch. Can Mike Budenholzer create a game plan to help counteract that? Can he make the right coaching adjustments for them to do well in the clutch? I myself am doubtful, but we're gonna have to wait and see, because Coach Bud makes adjustments, but he does it so slow. I don't know if he can be able to make those adjustments quickly, especially against a Phoenix Suns team who is willing to try out different things. But again, this Bucks team starts and ends with Giannis. Giannis played fantastic all playoffs long. That hyperextended leg looked really, really bad, but he was doubtful for these last two games against the Hawks, and there were reports, like I said earlier, that he could have possibly played in Game 7, so he is able to play. He is 100% able to play, but how healthy is he going to be? Is he going to be limited in his minutes and stuff like that? We're going to have to wait and see, but a lot of this series falls on whether Giannis can be healthy or not. I don't know. Chris Middleton is going to have to play huge in this series. Drew Holiday is going to have to give them a lot, and they're going to have to play extremely well on the defensive end, because this Suns team, they've shown that they can handle, they can win games tough, they can win games high scoring. Now, can the Bucks catch up, especially without Giannis? We don't know. But as for the Suns, again, this is a very, very young team. The Bucks have the experience here, and just to counteract with this, I mean, I said that the Bucks have trouble with shifty guard and stuff, but the Suns haven't faced a team like the Milwaukee Bucks where they just have a bunch of length and size on the inside. I mean, DeAndre Ayton is their main inside presence, but outside of him, what do they have? I mean, Cam Johnson's pretty big, but he doesn't play like the big man role. Dario Saric, I mean, can he really handle it down there with a Brook Lopez, Giannis, Bobby Portis? I don't think so. I think that's going to be a really, really tough thing for the Suns to defend against, because look, they are a good defensive team, but the Bucks have a bunch of size, and it's going to be extremely hard for the Suns, who play a lot of small ball, who play a lot of small guys, to really counteract that size. They're gonna have to play quick. They're gonna have to make quick passes, make sure that the Bucks rotate. They're gonna have to make the Bucks move, and the Suns, they've been shown they could do that, but it's going to be extremely tough, especially with the length of Chris Middleton in the passing lanes, Drew Holiday harassing either Devin Booker or Chris Paul all night long. There's a lot of things to look at. But I talk about that on the offensive end, but on the defensive end, if Giannis plays, who is the Suns going to put on him? They can't put DeAndre Ayton on him because he has to deal with the inside. He needs to protect the inside. Who are they going to put on him? Mikal Bridges? He's just going to get cooked up by Giannis. Cam Johnson, not a great defender. Chris Paul, I mean, he can play defense all he wants. He's not stopping near 7-foot Giannis. I mean, it's going to be extremely tough, and that matchup is going to be something to really look out for. How are the Suns going to defend Giannis? We've seen the wall work before, but the Bucks team is now hitting shots, so I don't know. I don't know how they're going to be able to do it, but it's going to be something to look at. Also, another thing I want to look out here for the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker looked really flustered against Patrick Beverley a lot in the Clippers series. Book got really frustrated. He got some technical fouls. I think there's going to be not maybe as much aggression, but it's not going to get much easier because he's probably going to get mainly defended by Jrue Holiday, which is going to be extremely, extremely tough because, again, one of the best guard defenders in the basketball. So Book has to keep his cool. He needs to play composed, and he needs to find ways to work off ball and try and get his points that way because he's not going to break down Jrue Holiday like that. He's just not. But like I said for the Bucks, how they can't handle shifty guards. Chris Paul needs to play great. He needs to play absolutely fantastic in this series. He needs to get into that mid-range area. He needs to take advantage of the backing up defenders of the Milwaukee Bucks. He needs to feast in the mid-range area, and he has to just do well setting up others. And it's going to be tough because the Clippers played small so much that they could just get a bunch of lobs to DeAndre Ayton. Now, when you're trying to throw lobs over Giannis, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, it's going to be a lot tougher. But Ayton still has to play great as well. He needs to be a factor on both ends. He needs to fight hard on the rebounding front. A lot of these Suns guys just have to step up because the Bucks are going to focus on these star guys. And although the other guys around in the Suns are young and stuff like that, except for maybe Jay Crowder and Dario Saric, they're going to need to step up. And they've shown it throughout this playoffs they can. But can they do it under the brightest lights? I don't know. I think that's going to be something to look out for. So yeah, the Bucks is Giannis going to get healthy? Because I think that's going to be a huge part of this. And if you're the Suns, I mean, this is a completely different opponent you're facing. And the traveling is different, stuff like that, especially going from east to west. And this is the biggest series in Chris Paul's career, everyone's career. Because apparently I looked at a stat that the only guy who has been to the finals out of both these teams is Jay Crowder. And I find that really interesting. But two teams who have who a majority of the guys didn't make the finals. It's going to be really fun to see. It's going to be really fun to see a completely different matchup. I promise you, if someone told you that they predicted this finals before the season, I would tell you that they're lying. But we have this finals here: Milwaukee Bucks, Phoenix Suns. It's going to be extremely fun to watch. Two contrasting styles. Both teams can score and defend. Great matchups on the inside, on the perimeter, at so many different positions. This is going to be such a fun series, and I'm super, super hype. But who is going to win this series? And if I had to make an official prediction, I'm going to say, and I'm going to make it very clear, Suns in 7. Yes, I think this is going to be a long series. Giannis, I think, should be, if not game 1, I think he should be back game 2. This Bucks team is deep. This Suns team is going to have to find out some clever ways to score on this Bucks team. And I think this is going to be a really, really good series. Because I don't really like to talk about regular season series, but if you look back to the regular season series, the Suns swept the series 2-0, but they won by a combined 2 points. So both games were 1-point victories. So it's just going to be a really, really fun matchup. I'm super excited. Hopefully Giannis is back healthy very soon. But my official prediction for this series is the Phoenix Suns. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I hit the mic. But the Phoenix Suns winning this series in 7 games. They're going to win at home. They're going to be faced under the bright lights. They're going to have the Valley Boys cheering them on. It's going to be absolutely insane, but I have the Suns winning in 7. I mean, if I wouldn't mind with any of these teams winning. I mean, I seeing Giannis win a title would be really, really cool. But CP3, man, this is his best chance. He's finally made it. Can he complete that? Can he improve his legacy even more by winning this championship? Can he get that Finals MVP? We're going to have to wait and see, but I have the Suns winning the series, and man, it's going to be a very, very fun series to watch. I just cannot wait. But yeah, that's my prediction. Let me know down below what your guys' prediction is. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Do you have the Bucks winning? Because I can see a lot of people choosing them, but I got Suns in 7. But I think this is going to end today's episode. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Remember to show love on all the podcast channels. Like, share, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And remember to follow @TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for some great content. I'm going to be back on I think I'm going to try to release the next episode on Thursday so I could do a good preview on Game 2 as well, because the NBA Finals starts on Tuesday. So a little bit of a different schedule, like I said at the top of the show. but I'm gonna try to like kind of switch it up for the finals. But yeah, I'm gonna hopefully have a guest on for the Thursday episode. Maybe a returning one, maybe a new one. We're gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm just excited for this NBA Finals. 2 completely new teams. I just cannot wait to see them battle it out. And again, thank you guys for all the support. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Take it easy, guys. TV signing out.